So what are we supposed to do when allocation is so bad that there's no way for us to really even get packs unless by some chance our locals actually has some when we play at our Nexus Nights and skirmishes alike? Well, there are some easy decks that we are going to be able to build for incredibly cheap that can still take it to the meta, even being able to defeat the decks like Kai'Sa and Master Yi, while also still being able to maintain a very healthy budget. What kind of deck lists are those? Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. So this is the difficult part. You go ahead and you're like, well, I really like Kai'Sa. I want to try to go ahead and build her. And then you look at the market and you're like, I don't want to spend $400 to $600 to be able to build her. And it would be one thing if it was possible to go ahead and get the booster boxes and things of that nature, but it's just not. Unless you're wanting to pay $1,900 for 6 boxes or over $300 a box, which is 24 packs, you're not going to be able to necessarily get your hands on any product. And that could be very difficult for a lot of people, because I know a lot of my viewers in particular are just like, well, we want to be able to play this game, but what are we able to do about this? I mean, I can't even go ahead and build Set without dropping $60 on Showstopper. I can't build Kai'Sa without having a $90 Kai'Sa card, and now we're running 2 or 3 Acathian Reigns. I can't play Annie because, well, Proving Grounds is over $200, and not only that, I don't want to pay $40, $50 for Flash alone. And again, this is hard because it is turning a lot of people away from who otherwise would be playing this game. And it's hard. I want people to be able to experience this. Our local Nexus Nights are an absolute blast, and being able to come together and just play out your game is something that should be enjoyed by those who want to be a part of the hobby. Unfortunately, though, Wave 2 hasn't hit yet. Allocation was incredibly scarce, and this game was far more popular than what they probably anticipated. But there is some hope. I mean, heck, our first deck that we are going to be looking at is, in fact, Yasuo. Now, you're going to recognize this. It is going to be Gale Wind's list in particular, which is also an incredibly cheap deck. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gale Winds went ahead and played at the Houston Regionals with over 1,300 competitors and was able to go ahead and run with Yasuo, and also got the one of Metal card. Really cool. Good for him. Outside of him being an incredibly skilled player, he took a deck that people a lot of times thought was on the back burner, not necessarily going to be something to actually benefit the meta, or you're just going to be kind of trying to fight your best, but you're going to be ending up falling short. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this deck is going to be very technical. You are going to have to know your matchups and know what your cards are going to be able to do against said deck. So that is a little bit higher ceiling than what you would normally expect from other decks here, but once you do get the hang of Yasuo, you are going to be able to take it to the very best decks. You are going to be able to take down the MF Auroras, the Yis, the Kai'Sas even. When you are going against Kai'Sas, you're going ahead and rushing out, basically to your Mind Splitters here to try to make it to where you can get rid of their Acathian Reigns or anything else that might be able to help them win the game. You see a Time Warp, you can target that and things of that nature, and then while also trying to play around a lot of the meta. Kai'Sa has adjusted in this meta a little bit because of Annie becoming so prevalent. She can go ahead and move back into base, and a lot of the base or a lot of the battlefield removal just no longer is available. That's difficult. And with that, Yasuo is kind of utilizing the same thing. Now, what you're also going to be utilizing here is the fact that your opponent does not know this deck whatsoever. So you go ahead and you're playing things like, the stack decks and things which are going to find you your answers, which is really helpful. But then, oh, by the way, you're running Fight or Flight. You're running Tide Turner. And guys, let me just say, Tide Turner to be able to protect your Yasuos or things like that can be very helpful. Not only that, Yasuo with Tide Turner, when you have Tide Turner in a battlefield hidden, Yasuo in the base, you go ahead and flip up the Tide Turner. Yasuo can switch with it. Now, what Yasuo is actually able to do as a legend here, it's really solid. You are going to be able to go ahead and move a friendly unit to or from its base. And so this is going to be really helpful. And the interesting thing about this is you can also have an incredibly good matchup against Annie as well because of this legend ability. They go ahead and they decide to fight or flight your unit back. Okay, cool. I'm going to spend 2 and attack right back in. And odds are, a lot of the time, they are not going to be able to have the extra runes on top of that. They ready 2 runes every turn by Annie's legend ability, and that's it. Now that they're tapped out, okay, cool. My legend ability says, too bad, I'm going to move right back in. And you are able to absolutely devastate Annie in a lot of really fun and unique ways that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Now, first and foremost, we got the Zon Warrens, which is when you conquer here, discard 1, then draw 1. Targon's Peak, when you conquer here, ready 2 runes at the end of this turn. And number 3, Windswept Hillock, that is going to allow you to get ganking from that battlefield over to the other. So a lot of really fun stuff that you are able to balance and utilize here. Now, the interesting thing is you are always going to be starting out with Zon Warrens first, mainly due to the fact that you do have Scrap Heap. Now, yes, outside of that, you're going to have Traveling Merchant and things of that nature, but if you miss out on Traveling Merchant, Scrap Heap is something that is really great on making your deck smaller. You know, and this is one of the few times a smaller deck is actually very helpful here. But with that, he is going to be able to go ahead and you discard that and you'll be drawing 2 because Traveling Merchant says when I move here, discard 1, then draw 1. Not only that, Zon Warrens, when you conquer here, discard 1, draw 1. So you end up drawing 2 just for discarding a card. And that can get you a lot of the answers that you need to be able to use. And you are, of course, able to go ahead and make any changes that you want. My friend Lancet, for example, doesn't necessarily like Charm in the deck. Fine, I totally get it. He's going to go ahead and swap it out for some other things. He also wanted to go ahead and test, for example, instead of the rebukes that are in this deck, I meant to actually put one in here, sorry. One's supposed to be in the main deck. He's decided to go ahead and do that with the mirror card that gives everything temporary, meaning that it'll die before the beginning of your next turn, or before your opponent's next turn. So there's a couple of ways that you can kind of switch things around to fit your playstyle here, but otherwise it's been a very impressive and very hard-hitting deck that can go ahead and take it against the top of the meta. You got to be careful about how you play it. Not going to act like that this deck is easy, but heck, when it's under $40 to be able to build this deck, heck, even if you want to go with the Alt-Art Yasuo right here, this is an $8 alternate art card, which is just absolutely insane to consider. And man, this deck can run. So a lot of really cool stuff to be able to see there with this deck. Next here is going to be Teemo. Now, first and foremost, Teemo, you may pay 1 to hide a card with Hidden instead of a power cost. Also, you can pay 1 and tap the legend to be able to put Teemo, a Teemo unit you own into your hand from your champion zone or onto the board. So, really great way to go ahead and completely recycle your Teemo. He gets his +3, so he becomes a 4-might unit when you activate him, and you are able to just go ahead and play him back out as a hidden card again, so that you always are being able to recycle him for that +4 every single time your opponent is going to be trying to attack in. Now, this one I'm a little bit hesitant on. The main reason why I say that is like what I just said with Kai'Sa, the meta has completely changed. In the sense of your biggest matchup, your hardest matchup is going to be Kai'Sa. If Kai'Sa opens up with a Hex Tech Ray, you are going to be finding yourself having a difficult time trying to get onto the battlefield. Once you do get onto the battlefield, you have a ton of momentum that your opponent therefore needs to be watching out for, because you are going to be immediately making it very difficult for your opponent to be able to take said battlefields. Then on top of that, you are discarding and recycling cards around the board so that your trash gets extremely full, so then you are able to go ahead and put out a 20-might Dr. Mundo. So really cool stuff to be able to do here. Now, this is based off of Prismaticism's Teemo list. He is pretty much the best player of Teemo in Riftbound. Now, the biggest thing is that we switched out Instead of 2 of the Thousand Tail Watchers, we did 2 Rasha the Sunderers. That's going to be really the only difference here. Go ahead and take a look at his deck. It's a really good deck list, and he runs 2,000 Tails instead, which is going to help you a little bit with consistency, but also costing you near $80. Don't need to worry about that. That's really the only caveat here. Teemo actually has a really good matchup into everything else. Master Yi, you are going to be finding a little bit of your struggles with that, but you have a lot of cards to be able to utilize so that you are then able to match what Master Yi is able to do. Aurora is going to be moving extremely slow. So cool, I'm going to go ahead and get both battlefields, reinforce them, and then if like a Dead Bloom Predator or anything ends up coming out, cool, I got my, Home Alone traps activating at this point, and you are going to be having a very difficult time trying to take care of my units and getting battlefield points. Otherwise, yeah, you got yourself some really fun stuff that you are then able to do. Now, of course, you got things like Stupefy, -1 and drawing a card. Gust, to be able to take out or return a 3 might or less unit. If someone has a, not a Dead Bloom student, Raven Bloom student, wow, a Raven Bloom student, and they go ahead and they start playing spells to go ahead and buff it up, well, you can play Gust at a reaction, so before that spell actually finishes going off, you bounce them back when they're not actually able to go ahead and get up to that 4 might. So a lot of really cool stuff to utilize there. 1 retreat to save some important things. Traveling Merchant to discard, draw 1, fill up your trash. Ravenbloom Student to get +1 for each spell that you play. And Guerrilla Warfare, one of the best cards actually in the deck, but definitely one that you only need to be able to run a 1 of. You return up to 2 cards with Hidden from your trash to your hand. You can hide ignoring costs this turn. So are there things that you particularly need to go about getting? Yeah? Cool. Well, let's do it. And then you can play them for free. This is something that can really throw some people off because they just see you going ahead and putting cards face down and hidden, and they're like, what are you doing, dude? You didn't even pay the cost. And you're like, Guerrilla Warfare says it's free. And when you accompany that with Bondle Tree, where you are able to hide 2 cards, 2 hidden cards at a battlefield, it's really good. Now, on top of that, you got 3 fighter flights to keep those threats away from the battlefield. Tide Turner to really utilize moving some dangerous things around. Hey, you have a Mundo over in one battlefield, and they go ahead and they attack him with a Darius at 10. You reveal the Tide Turner, and that wall of Mundo just plows right into the other battlefield and takes them out. Because how are you going to deal with adding a literal +20 in to a battlefield? Really fun stuff. Lecturing Yordle to be able to draw a card, and it has tank. This is something that people forget a lot about. Yordle has tank, so if you do need to go ahead and attack in, and you need to make sure that they all survive, well, Yordle can be the cannon fodder here, and then you are going to be able to take that battlefield with ease, saving the stuff that you would rather keep. So, really interesting there. Sprite Call, again, a great hidden card. Also a good one to just hurry and hasten out so that you can get a 3 might unit to potentially try to take a battlefield and hide cards there. This is going to be one that you definitely want to hide a Teemo at, because at reaction speed, when Sprite Call is going to die, you can play out Teemo, and then you are able to hold the battlefield and score the point still. So really good stuff. Consult of the Past to be able to draw 2. And then one of the best, and the thing that makes this deck so dangerous, is going to be your Ember Monk. Definitely one that you want in your opening hand. And the big thing here is that you are going to be able to play a card from Hidden, or when you play a card from Hidden, give me +2 this turn. That includes from anywhere on the battlefields, because that's the only place that you can hide cards, at least for right now in this game. Now, with that, this is going to be interesting, because when you go ahead then and reveal it, well, you just added +4. If you have Bondle Tree, you just added 6, making that a 10 might unit. And not only that, you have to deal with all the other hidden cards that you just revealed as well. So, gosh, this is the win con here, to at least hold your ground until the Mundo is able to come in and really solidify things. This deck is definitely a lot more wanting to go first, but there still are a lot of things that you are able to do to try to get the battlefields early and be able to, start hiding your cards. If you are able to do so, you have a lot in your arsenal to be able to get things moving. You are able to draw a ton of cards. You have things like Lecturing Yordle. You have stacked deck, Stupefy. You also have Consult of the Past, so just for revealing, you're able to draw 2 cards. There's a lot that you're able to do. Then, of course, the Rasha, the Sunderer. Mid to late game, you're just going to have to pay a 1 power to get a 6 might out onto the board. Really good. Then, of course, on the side decking here, you got smoke screens to be able to combat against the Aurora decks and the Yi deck, so in case they drop the Dead Bloom, you're perfectly fine giving it a -4. You're going to be then able to maintain hold of the battlefield and really devastate their board because they just paid a lot to try to get out, that game-winning combo, essentially. Rebuke is also going to be super solid. Again, if there's those big threats that you need to get off the battlefield so that you can then take it, well, Rebuke is a great way to do that. They play a Dead Bloom. Well, they just literally spent 8 playing a Dead Bloom. And, they started the showdown. Cool. Rebuke. Nope, it's back to hand. What are you going to do about it? This is the stuff that can really slow your opponent down. Then, of course, One Ride the Wind to be able to just get the win con, definitely. Sprite Mother, and then the third Singularity, and then Gust if you are going against things like Annie, for that matter, because they start playing a lot of, 3 or 2 might units in this case, and, you're going to be able to utilize that really well with Gust. So, a lot of really fun stuff to be able to see here, a lot of interesting things to anticipate with all this, and a great way to get some answers and take your game to your opponent. Now, this is going to be pretty much the cheapest deck here. Like I said, with the Teemo in particular, again, that's going to be under $50. That's insane. Viktor, same thing as Yasuo, going to be so incredibly cheap. Now, this is one that I absolutely love because I think Viktor is slept on. You've heard me say in multiple videos that Viktor doesn't have a great matchup into anything, but has a good matchup into everything. And you are able to have that consistency to best utilize going against your opponent and, basically have a lot of win cons by the time you get to 6 points. Now, the difficult thing about that is you have to be able to hit the ground running in the beginning. If you happen to start missing out on, being able to create those early game tokens, you are going to start to struggle. Viktor at least can help out with that. You definitely want a 2-drop when going first, but you also have pretty much one of the best turn 2s in the game. You are going to be able to play out a 2-cost unit, and then with the third, be able to play out another recruit token. That's insane. Not only that, you have a lot of really good battlefields to help you out. Trifarian Warcamp is going to add +1 to all your units. One of the best strategies, especially if you're going first, you take Trifarian Warcamp, you get the first point, then you keep stacking up Trifarian Warcamp over and over and over again with more and more units and make it impossible for your opponent to then take it over. Well, if they can't take over the other battlefield, you just win because you scored the first point. Cool. Now, with that being said, too, if you happen to be going first again, you want to go with Arena's Greatest. You're using your aggression to your advantage. You don't want to use this on game 2 when you when you won game 1 and you're going second, you don't want to use that. But this is also a great ability to use in game 3 to help speed you up. And then also Candlelit Sanctum, just because it's something that can help out your opponent, but not nearly as much as like Dreaming Tree or things of that nature. If you did want to go Dreaming Tree, then you could go Hidden Blade your own card with a unit in the Dreaming Tree and draw 3 cards. That is really good. There's just other decks like Annie and Kaisa and Yi, for that matter, that really can profit off of Dreaming Tree, which is why for Viktor, you don't want to give your opponent as strong of an advantage there. So that's why I say take that step back. Now, with that, of course, Viktor, you don't normally play him out too often. There's a few cases where you will, and there's a few times where it's like, well, I don't necessarily have the huge answer necessarily, or I have a lot of weird odd costs or just spells in my hand. Well, you can go ahead and play out Viktor, so you at least get that unit out. Pretty solid right there. Blast Cone Fae is going to be really good. Again, it is only a 1-of, but it is a hidden card that can really surprise your opponent. You will then be able to, when you play him or reveal him from hidden, because that is counting as playing him, give a unit -2 this turn to a minimum of 1. Now, that's going to be a full swing of 4 at that point, because you pick one of their units and you say, okay, now you're down 2 might, and then you add 2 with the might of the Blast Cone Fae. Sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes all you need as Viktor is to be able to continue to take back the battlefields turn after turn, which is relatively easy to do. And then you need to just make sure that you hold the battlefield once. If you're able to do so, boom, there you go. It's a great win for you. And Blast Cone Fae can help make that possible. If you need some draw, you're not using Hidden Blade on your opponent's units unless it is for a win con. If someone goes ahead and you're going against a Kai'Sa, you're at 6-7 points, and they attack in with a Thousand Tail Watcher, well, they literally just used 8 runes to be able to do so. Then you Hidden Blade them, and it does not matter if you give them 2 cards or not. You're probably going to win the game. So definitely something to utilize there with Hidden Blade. Daring Poro, Assault +1, so you're attacking for 3 and very easy to start getting things going on turn 1, turn 2, so that you can start getting battlefield points, and then you just reinforce kind of thing. Soaring Scout isn't a great card, but at least it is a unit out onto the board. Channel 1 Rune Exhausted, going to help get you up a little bit more with that. You're going to be able to get to your mid-late game a little bit quicker, but again, it's still not necessarily a great 2-drop to actually have. Neither is necessarily Watchful Sentry, but it does draw you cards, which is why we play it, because we need cards in hand. If we don't have cards in hand, when our opponent goes ahead and plays a Cathian Rain, oops, that really sucks. Our whole board is built or destroyed. Likewise, though, even if we have like 2 or 3 cards in hand and then Watchful Sentry adds that 4th card, doesn't matter if they Cathian Rain, we're going to be able to immediately rebuild. The downfall of a Cathian Rain is that you are pretty much spending your turn to be able to play a board wipe. If you can't, then deal with the board that gets rebuilt, you're really set back. And that can be also a big downfall of Kai'Sa, and something that you got to calculate out as you're playing that legend as well. Then, of course, Lecturing Yordle. This is one that you could switch out and go down to 2. Some people also play 0 in them as well. Again, though, I love the tank ability on this Yordle. That beard just absorbs that extra damage in that case and protects the units. It's a great card. Now, also, Faithful Manufacturer is great for going second. You're going to still be able to get out those 2 units. Also, if you wanted to, it can benefit your opponent, but instead of Arena Greatest or Candlelit Sanctum, you can do Obelisk Power for an additional channeled rune. So when you are even going second, for example, you could go Faithful Manufacturer and then the Legend ability, which is really good, and just get some really fun combos with that. Sprite Call, again, just to have that little bit of surprise factor with your hidden cards if you so choose. But if you do end up getting in trouble, well, you can play Sprite Call out just for the 3 cost and immediately go ahead and take over a battlefield. This is something that actually really surprised me with Viktor. I thought that it was going to be really hard having a lot of 1 might, 2 might units that are trying to go ahead and take over the battlefield. That's not the case. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You're going to be finding yourself really taking down a lot of the units. The big thing about this meta right now is that it is very aggression heavy. And so with that in mind, a lot of the decks aren't necessarily great at then being able to defend the battlefields that they are finding themselves in. Annie, especially if she runs out of her, 2 runes that are at the ready, what else does she have? There's only 3 flashes in the deck. The odds of you seeing all 3 are going to be slim. Well, when you have 10 units out, cool. I'm going to just keep bombarding you. You take over with a 3 might unit. You take over with a 5 might unit. I'll trade. And then I'll take it over, rebuild my backfield. What do you have else for me? So some really cool stuff to be able to have there. Now, Consult of the Past, same thing, draw 2, hidden card. Sprite Mother, really good as well. Again, you're meeting that aggression. You're getting 6 might out on the board for 4 and a power cost. What? That's really good. And again, you're trying to match aggression with aggression. There's not a whole lot that we are going to be able to do with Sprite Mother in particular, or with like our aggression, our accelerated cards. We don't have like Thousand Tail Watchers. You can if you want. I would recommend running 2 when you build this deck up, but still, really good card. I played Jewel Colossus mainly because it also has Shield +1 and Vision, and more importantly, it doesn't have any power cost. So defending the board for 6 is going to be really good. I was debating on playing Cruel Patron or this. Cruel Patron can be really good, but sometimes those 1 might units are going to be a lot more valuable alive than dead, even if you are adding 6 might to the board. There's going to be some times where you don't have a very big board because you're struggling with some draw or whatever that stuff, whatever might be going on. And Cruel Patron then feels really bad because you want to continue to start going wider, 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 and you can't necessarily do that. Well, Jeweled Colossus says, cool, I'm still going to be putting out potentially 6 out on the board for 1 more, and you don't have to actually kill a unit in this case. And Vision can be really good. You look at the top cards, you're like, do I want this? No. Cool, it goes to the bottom. And even just anticipating what the next card in hand is going to be extends your hand size by that much and helps you plan ahead for what could be coming. Now, then, of course, one of my favorite cards in the game right now is going to be Imperial Decree. It can be Windwalled, it cannot be defied, which is awesome. Now, with that, when any unit takes damage this turn, kill it. Really good against Yi, really good against Aurora. You're going to be able to go ahead and send a 1-might unit in. Doesn't matter how much they buff it, they're dead. That's going to be the biggest thing. Now, the biggest thing to also remember with that, if you send in a 4-might unit, you are not able to do 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage on 4 different units. Nope. You have to actually get above their mites for the next rally of damage to be able to go over into the next opponent. This is why you go ahead and just send 1 in at a time until the board is cleared. A lot of loss for them, not a lot for you. It feels so good. Now, of course, another great win con for you is going to be Grand Stratagem. I do think Imperial Decree, for how wide we're going to be going, is a little bit better. But even still, Grand Stratagem can really help you go ahead and win the games. If you want to, you can go ahead and drop out 1 Singularity for 2 Grand Stratagems and go 2 and 2. Or even go 1 and 2, depending on what your playstyle is. Some people prefer Grand Stratagem over Imperial Decree. I prefer Imperial Decree personally, which is why the deck includes it. Riptide Rex, going to be able to go ahead and deal 6 damage to an enemy unit at a battlefield. Again, just a really good answer and something to get ahead of in the game. And then you also have a 6-might unit on the board, which can really help in that late game. Then 3 Singularities. It feels so good. Oh my gosh. There have been Kaisa and a Darius out on the board, and I go, you're dead, you're dead. Cool. That hurts Kaisa's like no other. This also Singularity hurts Annie's like no other. That's one of the nicest parts. You need to be able to make sure that Annie loses out on all of her units. She doesn't have units, she can't score. They do have a lot of acceleration and aggression still, but they have to make sure that they are able to maintain cards in hand. If they don't, they are going to be falling behind. And there is only so many units that Annie is able to get out. And because of that Singularity, you pop out 2 of them. Cool. And Singularity hits anywhere on the board. You're not going to be flashing back to base thinking you're safe. Nope. Singularity will find you. And when it does, you're gone. Great feeling right there. Then, of course, we have Salvage to be able to take out the Auroras. Facebreaker, just a really good win con. You're holding the battlefield. Again, you only need to be holding once. And then all of a sudden, boom, they go ahead and attack in. And you go, yeah, you're stunned, I'm stunned. So that's the big thing. A lot of times in this meta, people attack in with just 1 unit. So if they aren't able to actually get over your might, your stunned might, then you just go ahead and hold the battlefield and they go back to base. If they attack him with multiple cards, then you wouldn't want to necessarily put Facebreaker in, instead maybe Shen. But still, Facebreaker, man, that can be the win con, and it's hidden. And again, you're already getting your opponent guessing. They're going to be guessing which hidden card, and a lot of times they're already like, oh yeah, it's Hidden Blade. Nope, it's Facebreaker, and oh yeah, you're stunned and you're going back to base, and now I'm holding this battlefield and winning the game. Shen, of course, also is going to be really good. Now, this happened last night at my Nexus Night. Keep in mind, Shen cannot be played as you are attacking into a battlefield. It specifically says that play anytime, even before spells and abilities resolve, including to a battlefield you control. So if you are defending, Shen will then come in and be able to hold at +5 with, or, adding 5 to the battlefield and tank. If you are attacking in, Shen cannot do so. You do not control that battlefield. Not yet. So don't go ahead and make that mistake. There was a guy who made that last night. I still let him, of course, take it back and let him know what was going on with how the card actually works. Because, yeah, it's that one line that can be to your detriment. And next set, of course, we have Rengar, which is able to attack or be flashed in, reactioned in when attacking, which is absolutely crazy. Now, really good card for that. And then also, if there are any big units you need to take care of, just go ahead and kill them with some vengeance. Really good card. All in all, though, these are so good of decks, and I want people who are able to get into this game, to be able to. This is a really fun thing, and being a part of a brand new game is an absolute blast. Yasuo can take it to the best of them. My friend Lancet went ahead and even was able to nearly take down an MF Aurora last night. He was able to take down a Kai'Sa as well with Yasuo. And honestly, he would have been able to take down the MF Aurora if he had more reps with the deck. I guarantee it. That's going to be the biggest thing. Now, of course, that can be a toss-up. Definitely. Aurora is a very difficult deck to try to go against. But the fact that Yasuo is able to go against the top decks and have a chance at winning is why, we can go ahead and still hop into this game and have a great time doing it. That's the biggest thing. I don't want you guys to really have to feel like you need to spend $400, $600, $800 to be able to play this game. Yes, you might have to wait on Master Yi. You might have to wait on Kai'Sa. You might even skip out on Kai'Sa because set 2 is coming out in February, and then we might have Ezreal, Draven, or whatever else. But you are still able to go ahead and build these decks and be able to win your Nexus Nights and potentially even skirmishes. Yasuo, in my opinion, is probably the best one of the three, followed by Viktor and then Teemo. But again, depending on what playstyle you actually like, can be something to make a really big difference in your game. And the biggest thing is reps. Repetition, knowing your decks or knowing the deck that you in particularly play and how to pilot it can be one of the biggest difference makers. If you know how to pilot your deck better than your opponent knows how to pilot theirs, you have already such a better chance of winning. Let's have fun with this game, and let's go ahead and not spend an arm and a leg to be able to play it. And with that being said, guys, that is going to be it. So of these three decks, which one will you probably build? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments below, and until next time, guys, have a good one.